many people experience that. And so by sharing real and raw stories, we can help to spread the realities to help people feel more confident through the stories, and more prepared as well, right? So I'm so grateful that you are here. And we are keeping things, we keep this to around 15, 20 minutes. So I know that we could go for the hour,
Yes.
but we've gone over some questions. So I'd love for you to share about your first breastfeeding journey and just walk us through that first kind of what you did to prepare,
Mhm.
and then what that first few weeks to months was like for you.
Sure. So, I mean, I always planned to breastfeed. I always hoped that I could have breastfed, but I wanted to be prepared. It was first baby, and you never know what's gonna happen. Like maybe I'm not gonna have enough milk, or maybe they're not gonna have a good latch. Like you don't know. So, I was prepared in advance. In my head, mentally, I knew that like fed is best, and so whatever happens, happens, and we're going for breastfeeding, but if we have to switch, that's okay. Um, so I had like a little bit of formula on hand. I had some bottles, like just in case. But that was always my goal was like, okay, I want to breastfeed. I really wanted to breastfeed for like 2 years, um, because I learned about like researched all the benefits of breast milk, how amazing it is and how good it is for both mother and baby. So that was my goal. But it didn't quite work out as I planned. I took a breastfeeding course online, thinking, oh, this will help me like be prepared. I'll know what to expect. But it really like, it's not the same, like, and but once you're there and you're in it, like I felt like I didn't know what I was doing at all. And the nurses in the hospital, like they tried to help, but like he didn't have a good latch to begin with. So that was a struggle. And I didn't know what I was like, I didn't know like how to hold him properly and how to get my back comfortable and all of that. I didn't know what a good latch felt like. I didn't know what it looked like, in real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So
A doll in the preparation class cannot prepare you for the
no,
sensation,
yeah,
right? And for your posture, and every journey is different. So there's so much preparation we can do, but when you're in it, it's okay. How
yeah,
do we go from
exactly.
here, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And like at one point, I think I was maybe a week postpartum, and just like emotionally such a roller coaster. I was dealing with like cracks and bleeding, and it was horrible. I never had mastitis, thank goodness, but I did see a nurse at the clinic, and she suggested that I use nipple shields so that I could continue nursing while my breasts healed. So I did that. Um, but then that became a whole other hurdle because, he didn't want to nurse without them. And then later he didn't want to nurse with them. And then it's just one extra thing you have to bring with you every time. You have to sterilize it. You have to like learn how to put it on properly, and it moves around, and so that just like kind of made everything more complicated. That's probably my one, like if I could go back and not use those, I would I would not have used those.
You know what? And I see it brought up so often, like in breastfeeding support groups and things, but
Mhm.
it's a bigger conversation, right? It's not
For sure.
just use nipple shields and then you'll be
No,
fine, right? Like
no,
there's actually like some structure, and to be supported
yeah,
through that to also wean your child off of them,
for sure.
because they aren't meant to be a forever thing, right? They can be a
No.
tool when you need that
Mhm.
rest, but knowing what options and the bigger picture.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a challenge. But I ended up like I went to see a lactation consultant a few times. IBCLC. That's, I mean, you got to go right there. Like the nurses are so helpful, but like it's not the same as specializing in lactation, right?
Yes.
So you go see the IBCLC, and like she gave me the most helpful advice, helped me like, how to make sure I was getting that proper latch, how to hold him in a better position. But it was still really hard. And I started eventually pumping. And for almost 3 months, I pumped and bottle fed most of the time. And her suggestion was like, do skin to skin, keep doing it every day. and try to latch him whenever you feel like you can, like emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
And if you can do that every day, like that'll keep your bond, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And those were the hardest 3 months ever. Like that was really, really emotionally rough on me.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, like, I know in my head that I don't have to do this. At any point, I can just say, this is too hard and I'm done.
Yeah.
And it's okay, you know? But emotionally, I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to. I knew I had milk and I just felt like this pull inside of me. I had to keep going. I had to keep trying. And one of the lactation consultants had told me that somewhere around that like 3 to 4 month old mark, some babies, like they don't know why, if it's just the development of their jaw maybe, but they just kind of get it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. Like I think it was within a few days of him turning 3 months old, I went to skin with him and he
Yeah.
latched perfectly out of the blue. And after that, our breastfeeding journey was like so smooth sailing. Oh my goodness. That was the most special moment. And we were able to nurse until he turned 11 months. And it was, yeah, so amazing. And I'm so glad that I pushed through those 3 months. It was a long, hard 3 months, but very well worth it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. There's a few points I want to just bring up because the one thing that if you know if your course shifts, right, and you're expecting to nurse, and maybe your child does have trouble latching or you're in pain, and so you do shift to pumping,
Mhm.
that the point to do the skin to skin
Mhm.
is so important because it's one of
Yes.
the things that we can lose, not always intentionally, but just that freedom with the bottle
Mhm.
um, can decrease that touch, right? And that skin to skin, whether you're nursing or pumping, that helps your milk supply. It helps you regulate. It helps your baby regulate,
Mhm.
and still gives you so many of those benefits. So it is something to be brought up. So thank you for sharing that with the bottle feeding to still do how important that skin to skin is.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
then that other big thing about the 3 months, right? Like I
Mhm.
think I think this is a random statistic. Probably 99.9% of new parents expect to be like, is this for me?
Mhm.
Because it is so much more demanding than we realize. And especially when things do go, off course a little bit, and there
Mhm.
are those additional things with appointments if you're seeing a lactation consultant, or nipple shields, or incorporating pumping. Maybe your intention is for someone else to be able to bottle
Mhm.
feed, um, but be like understanding that those first 3 to 4 months are the
Yeah,
hardest, right? And so
definitely.
making that a little bit normal.
Mhm.
And also one of the blessings that it took me 6 months to figure out but was that time that was so challenging in the sense with breastfeeding and developing that bond and that skill really,
Mhm.
was that I was supposed to be resting, right?
Yeah.
Those first 3 months, four
Mhm.
months are not meant for us to be out on the go,
Yeah.
worrying about a latch when we're out somewhere. It's
Yeah.
meant to be at home resting and connecting with our little one because they were growing inside of us for 9 months
Yeah.
approximately. And
Yeah.
so there's that time afterwards that's meant for that closeness and meant to decrease some of those other things, right? So that
Definitely.
you can heal and you can strengthen that bond.
Yeah.
Um,
The fourth
and
trimester.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's still part of the journey. And then knowing that it does get better,
Exactly.
because if anyone's in the fourth trimester, I'm like recently out of it. It's hard, and there will continue to be challenges as you go. But knowing that that first few weeks to
Mhm.
few months really is that skill development, and it's for you to rest and to connect. And so giving yourself grace and being supported with professionals as well is huge for supporting that journey.
Yeah, definitely.
So what was the biggest support for you that really helped your breastfeeding journey be successful? You mentioned seeing the lactation consultant was vital.
Difference.
What other ways did you allow yourself to be supported on that journey?
I mean, for me, my husband was my biggest support. Like, everything from practical things, like he came with me to every appointment. He was there every time I talked to the nurses and the lactation consultants. He would get up every time I woke up in the night to feed, and he would sit next to me and he would bring me water and he would bring me snacks and like that, he'd help me fix my breastfeeding pillow. Anything I needed, he was there by my side the whole time, which was such a blessing.
Nice.
Um, and then he was the one that would remind me, like, you said you don't have to do this if you don't want, and I'll support you whatever you decide. And if you want to stop, we'll stop. And if you want to keep going, I'm here. And I always really appreciated that. Like, to just know that that person that you're closest to in life gets it,
Yeah.
and they're just going to support you whatever you decide. And yeah, so that was invaluable for me.
Nice. And did you guys talk before baby about what that was going to look like, or what was kind of like the preparation talk, or was there kind of
Yeah.
continued conversation postpartum?
Yeah, he attended all the online classes I took before when I was pregnant. It was during COVID that I was pregnant, so nothing was being held in person anyway. But yeah, he attended the breastfeeding class online, the prenatal classes. He helped me shop for a breastfeeding pillow, all of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very involved dad.
Amazing, amazing. And then postpartum, because relationships change, right? So
Mhm.
what was the conversation like, or did he just see that you were up and get up, or did you kind of share your experience and what you needed? What was that like?
Yeah, with our first baby, I think he was just kind of, he's never been that deep of a sleeper anyway, so he just kind of would like
He,
get
he
up.
was
But um yeah, like he I don't know, he's a special person. He's the kind of person that just is very intuitive. He just sees things, he gets things. And he knows me really well. Like, we were married 10 years before we had our first baby, so I think that helped a lot too, for sure.
okay, for sure. Those bones in the foundation. So, how did you find the naked nursing tank? And then how did that support you on your breastfeeding journey?
So I found it on Amazon. I was probably about a month or so into breastfeeding. I was starting going out a little bit here and there, and it was a struggle, like everything like I was juggling the nipple shields, I was juggling nursing pads because I was leaking and trying to like cover with a nursing cover and still not figuring out how it was comfortable. So I'm like, I need something that's going to make this easier. And I didn't have a lot of nursing friendly tops. And I was in my postpartum body. So I was like, you don't want to spend a lot of money on stuff that might not fit you for that long. And so I thought, well, if I could get a few tank tops, that would be great. And I did find a couple from some big brand that I won't name, and they were horrible. And the built-in bra had no support, and the clips would constantly come undone on their own. They were so flimsy. And I was just so like devastated. And I thought, there's got to be something better out there. Like, I had really nice nursing bras that I loved, that were supportive and comfortable and cute. And I was like, I wish I could wear these with a tank top. Does that exist? And so I started looking at what Amazon had for nursing tank tops, and the naked tank came up, and I was like, this is exactly what I imagined that I would need. And it was so perfect. It just, one less thing to have to worry about when you're out and you're just, you lift, you nurse. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you lower and you're good.
Yep. Yep.
And half the time, it just gives that comfort too of like less worrying about what other people are seeing or thinking
Yes.
because it's not, there's less fuss. You're not getting anything extra out. It's just you lean back and then you've got the
Yeah.
coverage.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so I wanted to celebrate you as well. How long have you been breastfeeding? You can share both your journeys.
So today is 22 months total. So I nursed my first until the day he turned 11 months. And
Yeah.
today my second turned 11 months.
Oh
So
my goodness.
22 months.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That celebration for every step, right? And it's another thing too, I think that doesn't get talked about enough is that it's not the all or nothing, right? Like every drop counts, every bottle counts, every nursing
Mhm.
session counts, every latch. It's all part of the journey.
Yeah.
And that there's always something there to celebrate, right? Instead of seeing or feeling any kind of lack or guilt, to just say, this is what
Mhm.
is there to celebrate?
Yeah.
All of those steps. Amazing. And for our expecting parents or new parents who are in it, what is one thing that you wish you knew earlier that you feel really could have made a difference?
I think a big thing is dealing with like those first days postpartum when your milk comes in. That was huge for me. Like I did not expect to have so much pain and discomfort and engorgement when my milk came in because I was like, I'm breastfeeding. Like this should be, supply and demand. But it was very uncomfortable, and the nurses were so helpful. But um, I knew so many friends who just like would reach right for their electric pump and they'd start pumping all their milk out. And the nurse is like, don't do that. Don't put an electric pump anywhere near your boobs until you're at least a few weeks postpartum. Like, it's going to make it worse. And I was so glad to know that because I asked the right people at the right time, but I was about to. Like, the nurse was coming that day and I had my electric pump out, and she was like, no, no, no.
Yeah,
She said, if you need to, you hand express.
yeah.
You just a little bit to let the pressure off
One of the best
and let the baby do
secrets
the
that
rest.
needs to not be a secret. And just for anyone watching who's wondering why no electric pump in those first few weeks, it's because you're telling your body to make more.
Yes.
So yes, if you are feeling engorged, that hand expression is the best way, quick, effective to decrease that pressure and then latching again.
Yep,
Right in those
exactly.
early days.
Yeah. And latch often because, you might think, oh, well, baby only needs to nurse every, 2 to 3 hours. And so you want to extend that so that you don't make too much milk. No, feed on demand.
Yeah.
Feed on demand, especially early on, because baby's stomach is so little and they need that milk all the time. And it's going to help regulate your supply. So, yeah.
Yeah. It helps your body figure it out, right? That
Yeah.
first few weeks is a lot of up and down. And that too with the naked nursing tank, giving the freedom to wear the bra that feels best because there could be serious
Yeah.
fluctuations, right?
Oh,
In
yeah.
your body, in your breast. And so being able to have the bra that feels most comfortable,
Yeah.
that's part of why the naked nursing tank was developed. It
Yeah.
was a main reason because my cousin was in a sports bra after the engorgement stage and they were big and blooming, then some go back
Yeah.
down. And
Yeah.
so to have that freedom without the extra fabric, without extra fuss, and for you to feel most comfortable in your body,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
You can just walk around your house in your naked tank and your bra, and you're latching baby all the time. Those early days postpartum, just rock it.
Yeah, I know. I think we had talked about have you ever answered the door with it on? I'm like, I live in it because it's breathable too, right? So it's like
Yeah,
those postpartum hormones, you are sweating and then you're
yeah,
cold. And so being able to just have that freedom to wear that as your base, throw over a robe or a cardigan when you need, and then when you're feeling warm again, it just comes back off. And the whole time you've got easy access and comfort.
yeah. It's
Amazing.
perfect.
Okay, to wrap up this call, what is your favorite thing about breastfeeding?
Oh my goodness. Probably, I mean, all the challenges aside, once it gets ironed out, like with my second baby, we haven't really had any issues. And so my favorite thing is just right now being able to feed him, comfort him anywhere, anytime. Like I don't stress about anything. I just, he's upset. Earlier today, he got upset. He had just fed like half an hour before, but I just nursed him, and within 2 minutes he was like, you know, just calmed right down. Well, not even 2 minutes, it's like two
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah.
But
Seconds,
it's
yeah.
just like it's like an instant
I
calm.
know.
Just you see their body just relax, and
Yeah,
I love that. And you can do it anywhere, anytime. It
yeah.
comes with you.
It's a superpower.
Yeah.
Any problem, it's just like, let's just have a little milk. And they are, yeah, that instant calm and how they can just like melt into you, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Ashley. If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments. We are going to be on here next Saturday, February 1st, will be the next series. Or the next story chat with Nicole. And we've got more coming up in February. So thank you again, Ashley, celebrating your 22 months today. And we will see you next week. Have a great day.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.